I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Justin, did you author this or?
I didn't author it, no, but the chief sent it to me, I reviewed it, and it was fine.
Oh, okay.
I think the chief and the PBA worked out.
All right, okay.
I did send 2 resolutions today. One regarding the EFC, just so you could sign off on the long-term finance.
I don't have that yet.
Okay, I can remind you. And one, Pat had a request for a expenditure from a reserve fund.
Okay, I don't have that either.
Okay, so I'll, when you look at me, I'll.
Good. Good evening, folks. Good evening, everyone. Brian, thank you for joining us. Oh, we don't even have the microphones fixed up yet.
Leave it next to Ty, he does all the photos.
You got it together. Got one more over here if you want to put it over by.
Hey, thanks.
Are you ready, young lady? Okay, we'll begin the meeting. Dissolution of the village. Anybody hear of that? Yeah? Okay. There's lots of questions. There's some answers. Some are truthful, some are not. Some answers are given before thoroughly researched. For example, it was mentioned at the last village meeting that the town has more debt than the village. Okay, here's the research. Now, the town debt at the end of 2020 was $313,219. That's for car leases and the truck bond. This debt, everyone in the town outside the village has to pay their share in taxes, everyone. Now, here's where the confusion comes in. In the sewer district, we have a debt of $1,233,421. The new project that we're doing right now, we're about to finish, I hope one day, will add $2,743,000 to that, which gives us a grand total in the sewer district of $3,976,421. Only the people in the sewer district pay that, not the whole town. Only the people in the sewer district. Water district, there's $848,300 to be paid by the residents in the water district only. So I don't see where it can be said that the town has more debt than the village, because if I add these things on up right, the actual town outside the village, for all the residents, has only $313,000 of debt. The districts are different because they're not paid for everybody, and you have to look at it that way. Now, in opposition to the village, and I'm going to use general numbers, and I'm glad trustee Guerrero comes in tonight. I understand there's $5 million worth of debt as it is, round figures. Another 3 may be added, round figures. That is $8 million of debt that the entire village has to pay. Not just the Ondiora Park people or the whatever people, the entire village has to pay it. So when you add up those numbers, we don't have more debt than the village. Not that it's a big deal. All of this debt was basically for infrastructure and things that had to be done. I didn't want to spend $3 million down the sewer plant, but it was 30 years old. It was falling apart. And we had a bunch of baling wire and milk boxes and stuff like that holding the sewer plant together. So it had to be done. And the water district, for the expansion and other taking over the water tank, planning for a new water tank, all of those things are infrastructure things that must be done. So much for those questions anyway. Is there any public comment? I'm sorry. Public comment on the agenda? No? Yes, ma'am.
Just make a public comment about that, just to be clear on what it is for the village. Is that okay? Or-
Yep.
Just stand up at the microphone, please.
I found out at the last meeting that people that were talking in the middle here, because mic wasn't set up, that no one at home could hear. Go ahead, please.
Sorry, so there seems to be a lot of confusion about what the village debt is, or at least a sense that to confuse. There is $4.4 million worth of debt on the books. It is on the books for $4.4 million. And another $3.4 million that has been authorized and approved since January of this year, which we already started spending. We have over $100,000, almost $200,000 that we've already started spending. Another $3.4 million for the Ondiora and Cragston water main. So that's over $8 million when you put it together. Again, I'm not the one who came up with those figures. The treasurer, who is intimate, the treasurer of the village, who is intimate with the facts. When I first came on in my very first meeting, my question was simple. What is the village debt? And that is the number that he came up with. So it didn't come from me. It's out there, and there should be no confusion. And the Cragston Ondiora water main has to be done, should be done, and the money is already being spent. So that is what I'm saying. And I agree. I think this is infrastructure that needs to be done and should be done. And it just needs to be preparation for it. And we should looking at cutting costs wherever we can in order to afford it.
Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Communications, I have none. Financial reports, oh, Kelly, I didn't get your budget transfers. I don't know if anybody else has. We transferred into the paying account $100,310 to cover the check run dated September the 23rd. Medical insurance premiums, $38,297. Campbell Freightliner of Orange County, $2,100. Maintenance of sanitation truck. Royal Karting, $2,655. for landfill charges. Cedar Pond Tree Service, $7,650 for tree removals. $26,752 for highway, excuse me, highway equipment installment payment. Global Monticello, $2,834 for diesel fuel for sanitation. Lincoln Tully, $9,179 for engineering consulting, and $27,830 for sanitation landfill charges. Budget transfers, I'll read off as I've done in the past with the whole sheet, and then if any questions along the way or at the end, please let me know. Building inspector to building department consulting, $10,000. That's for Lincoln Tully. Road Park Pool contractual, Road Park Pool personnel services under budgeted lifeguards. FICA to unemployment, $2,120 to cover large increase in unemployment expenses. Police personnel services to police equipment, $2,500. FICA unemployment, $2,000 to cover large increase in unemployment expense. Ambulance insurance to mandated meds for the ambulance, $1,000. That's for oxygen purchases higher than budgeted. Ambulance workers' comp to ambulance unemployment, $500 to cover large increase in unemployment expense. Sewer serial bond to sewer contractual, $4,000. Temperature water line from main building to press room. Temporary water line. And workers' comp refund to workman's compensation, $1,213. Move workers' comp refund to cover expenses. I ask for a motion to approve.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. Liaison reports. Councilman Sullivan.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Planning Board met in person on September 16th here. They had a public hearing on Pine Hill Apartments, or whatever that project's called, the entrance to Corbin Hill. That public hearing, I believe, is continuing. It's not closed yet. They had a couple other matters. We just want to let everybody know that public hearing is continuing. The room was full, so I wasn't able to be in here to listen to everything. I sat in the hallway for some of that. The ZBA met remotely. They had a public hearing on a Mine Road property, which has been closed out. Sewer, I was at the plant today with Jimmy. Some last-minute polymer details are being worked out, so that everything's built. The way they dispense it, he's not happy with. It's not a big deal. We just came up with a couple of solutions that aren't a big deal. In Fort Montgomery, between October 4th and October 7th, the area of Montgomery Road, Brooks Road, North, the whole rest of the system for those 3 days is getting inspected by a camera crew from TAM Enterprises. Lincoln Tully will have a person on the ground to coordinate it. We acted on it last meeting. It's about $7,000. That'll be the inspection of the whole system. Before the end of the year, I'll come up with a report on what I think needs to be done where. We'll have the data we need to act on all that stuff. So that hasn't been done in 35 years for everything. That will be done. On Saturday, I think it was Saturday, I attended the Orange County Firemen's Parade in Montgomery, where this is an interesting statement I'm going to make, the mayor and supervisor of Montgomery walked side by side to kick off the parade. Fort Montgomery Fire Department was there. Highland Falls was there. They all looked sharp. And Vale's Gate was there, led by Chief Pieri, sitting right over there. They looked sharp. I think you won a few awards, didn't you?
We did 3.
Very good.
Thank you.
On the building department, there were, for the month of August, 23 permit applications were received, 25 issued. There were 9 COs were issued, 40 building permit inspections, 7 advisory notices were issued, 9 complaints were opened, 6 complaints were completed. I always like to hear they're completed. There were 4 municipal searches, 4 FOIL requests, 47 total number of physical inspections. In the building department, with the consultant that we use, there's a fairly, I won't say large, there was a number of cases that have been open for more than a decade. I'm happy to report at least 5 of them are done. So I'm glad that they're just done. They did what they had to do, and they're closed out. Sometimes the applicants aren't always happy with what they have to do, but they're getting processed. This one's is a little bit uncomfortable to talk about, but I'm going to. I'd like to talk a little bit about Juul assets. At the village meeting, a public comment was made that Juul Energy had an F rating by the Better Business Bureau. And it does. Juul Energy is in Louisiana. It has nothing to do with Juul assets. The Community Environmental Advisory Committee was formed on Earth Day 2019. In 2 years, even with COVID, that group has done a great deal of good for this community at no cost. The Community Choice Aggregation Administrators were invited to meetings at Town Hall. They educated us on CCA, which is only a little over a decade old in New York. More than a year ago, even with COVID, the committee approached the town and the village with community choice aggregation explanations, many of them at board meetings. The town passed a resolution to get the ball rolling. A steering committee was formed by the CEAC to choose a plausible administrator for both the town and the village. The committee was chaired by Mindy Kimball, an absolute gem to this community. Included with Mindy were 3 or 4 other college professors. I'm not sure if one of them is a sign in life. And I would dare say that the inferior member intellectually in that committee was me, but I was still happy to be a part of it. And after 3 meetings, a rubric was generated by which to evaluate the choices. There were only 4 choices: Mega, Westchester, Good Energy, and Juul Assets. Mega and Westchester bowed out. Good Energy and Juul, as per the rubric, were evaluated, and Juul Assets was the best choice. They do many cities such as Beacon, Poughkeepsie, Phillipstown, Cold Spring, Clarkstown, Orangetown, Haverstraw, and Rockland, and we are the first community in Orange County. I hope the village is the second. I'd like to thank Mindy for hanging in there after being a little bit unexpectedly surprised at the village meeting. She gets no pay, dedicates enormous time to the community in many ways, including cadets doing projects for our community. And I have the rubric, Good Energy, and Juul submittals. Anybody that wants them can take them for the actual Juul assets. If you want Juul Energy, you're gonna have to go to Louisiana to get it. Water District number 2. If there's anything I said that was an error, please correct me. Okay. Water District number 2. In the early 2000s, Steve Scott, myself, and Bill Hubenny did a water report for the town at a sub-engineering level with all sources, pros and cons included. Bill's grandson wrote a letter recently. Bob read it off about 4 months ago, and he gave me the letter. And I received an email yesterday about a 1994 regional groundwater study and how it may relate to village dissolution. I'm not going to name who sent it to me. And they also wanted the report that I did with Steve and Bill back in 2002. I'm going to produce that report and send it out to the board. It's pretty thorough. And if you want me to read off my response to that email at the next meeting, I'd be happy to. But I have a surprise. This is a good one. So all the while there's talk about a water tank, we have one. It's 54,000 gallons. It's there right now. We're using it. And it fills the same way the one we're going to build is going to fill. So on discussion of water tank, when we bought Corbin Hill and tied it into the village system, we have one. It's there now. That's my report.
Thank you, sir. Councilman King.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good evening, everyone. And good evening, everyone at home. Got a few brief notes. We'll start with recreation for adults, better known as seniors. So So today they had a knitting program that took place from 12:30 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the center. I have not got a report on how many people participated or not, but I do know that that happened today. Tomorrow, Tuesday, September 28th, we have voter registration at the center on Main Street, and that is from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Target audience is the senior citizens. There's a senior men social hour at the center Tuesdays, starting on September 28th from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Also on Tuesdays is Community Speaks. Community Speaks is an event in the evening from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And apparently the guest speaker is the Environmental Advisory Committee, community invited. So those champions you just finished talking about will be talking tomorrow night at the center. We have Sight and Sound, Queen Esther Motor Coach Bus Trip. Extravagant live show, all you can eat, lunch and shopping, Wednesday, October 27th. Only 2 seats remain. So, get them while the getting is good. But looks like we got a lot of folks that want to take trips. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. We got an art exhibition at the American Legion Hall. This is part of the activities of the center, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Saturday, October 23rd. A $5 admission fee with light refreshments. Healthy presentation, how to avoid a stroke at the center, 274 Main Street, Wednesday, October 20th, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And this is going to be offered by the Office of the Aging. Community/family scavenger hunt starts at the center Sunday, October 10th, 1 to 3 p.m. $5 registration fee, gifts for all participants. And then finally, there's the holiday market at the American Legion Hall, Saturday, December 4th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So as you can see, a lot going on there. And then I see somebody says the Foliage Festival is October 16th, 9 to 4, Main Street, sponsored by the town of Highlands Ambulance Corps. Thank God for technology. Somebody just shot me that note as I'm speaking. Good job, Ryan. Moving right along to recreation. Our director, Aaron Falk, is developing a plan to assume responsibility potentially of the Long Pond. It's not necessarily a go at this point. The supervisor is in ongoing discussions with West Point, but what I want to assure the community that the director of recreation has a game plan, should he get the word from the supervisor, to be able to assume those responsibilities and then make that service offered to the community at large. Additionally, in the recreation world, the director is currently doing an assessment to see the feasibility of establishing an after-school program for youth. Now that we're back in school, he's recognized that there's a need for after-school program. He's doing the assessment to see how we can potentially fulfill that need. More to follow on that one. And then in terms of emergency management, I just want to say continue, for those out there who have not got vaccinated at this point, I sure wish you would continue to consider that and then go further than that and go ahead and get vaccinated. And I'm going to continue to encourage folks to do that. That's all I have, Supervisor.
Thank you. Before I go to the other side of the table, I meant to do this earlier. I wonder why I got this shirt on. I met a bunch of the girls volleyball players, and I promised them that I would make one of their games. So let me know when you play on Monday nights. Monday nights, like tonight, right? So anyway, they not only gave me a list of Monday nights, they gave me this T-shirt. So I'm with them in spirit, even though I can't be there right now.
Very good.
Our county legislator, thank you. Oh, they're clapping for you. Our county legislator, Lori Tortel, is here tonight, too.
And one caveat before you move on.
Yes, sir.
Our illustrious James L. Neal football team won homecoming on Friday night, 41-0, I think it was, or 42? 40, was it 6? 48-6. So let's give it up for the football team.
And you know, there's a lot of stuff going on about O'Neill and us losing the high school and what have you. Let's not put our heads in the sand and say, well, that's their problem or somebody else's problem. If they need letters written by our local folks that concern losing O'Neill, and I'm saying losing O'Neill, we're talking about the West Point portion of O'Neill, which is, I think, about 400 students. We don't want to lose those 400 students, and I just don't know what would happen if they did leave. But whatever it might be, that's a 5-year term too. So you'd have to make adjustments during that 5 years, and I don't know if they would be ready to go back again after 5 years. So anyway, do whatever you can to write any of the politicians you know, the school, anybody that's involved in it. Yes, Councilman Parry.
As we have more budget work to do, I'll keep my comments brief. No report. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. A few things from a West Point liaison. A couple of these things have been mentioned already. In fact, it was talked about at our budget meeting last week. And Councilman King talked a little bit about Long Pond, that had a meeting with, my monthly meeting with the West Point Garrison. Last Monday, asked Aaron Falk to join, and that was a very good meeting regarding Long Pond. That seems to be heading in the direction. That is going to be a good direction for everyone. MJ had a nice article, I know, in the paper last week, so no need to go into a lot of detail about that. Aaron told me also that he had a follow-up meeting with West Point, the Morale, Welfare, and Recreation team, last Wednesday. That apparently was a very good meeting also. So things seem to be progressing quite well with that. Talking about O'Neill, that was another topic that we had with the Garrison Commander last week. And I let her know, too, that Aaron happens to be on our school board also, so that probably helped prompt that conversation. But as the supervisor was saying, and has also been reported, it appears as if there's a tremendous upswell of support within West Point families. They want to keep their students going to O'Neill as it has been for decades now. They have solicited the support of James Skoufis. He has provided a letter talking about a lot of the things about what local impact to the community could be. The senior leadership at West Point is also reaching out to the contracting, the Department of Defense contracting folks that are the ones that are involved in evaluating and awarding that contract, supporting having their students continue to go to O'Neill. I know at the village board meeting, talking about the village board meeting, and I'll get to that here in a second, there was a comment made about people are looking around to send their kids to other schools. Not sure where the genesis of that comment may be from or who may be saying that, but there is every indication that that is not the case. So I think everyone's rallying around O'Neill, and it's a very, very important thing for us. And that, so I wanted to report that coming straight from the Garrison Command at West Point. Another topic, haven't talked about this recently because they've been involved in proposal evaluations, but Orange County is continuing to look at proposals for the military resiliency study. You may remember I've talked about that back in the winter and spring timeframe. That's electric transmission resiliency, something that is throughout either Department of the Army or Department of Defense, one of the two. But West Point's involved in that. Orange County is the lead agency for that. There have been 8 proposals received from various firms to do that study. It sounds like they are, I was in a meeting with them on Friday, sounds like they are very, very close to giving an award to whoever is the best offerer for that work. Probably, they're thinking probably within the next month or so. And again, I mentioned that because of our interest. Part of that study is associated with also not only West Point per se as a military base and the resiliency of electric transmission into the base, but also the surrounding community, which includes the town of Highlands, Highland Falls, and Fort Montgomery. And Supervisor asked me to be the representative on that advisory board, and that's the latest on that. So probably not the next town board meeting, probably sometime in November. Hopefully I'll have some more information about that and what that all means to us. Talking about the village board meeting, that I just would like to say that, again, there must be a misunderstanding of a comment that I made. I think I've made it here in the town board before. I can't remember. I have certainly made this comment to members of the public and members of the town board. It has to do with in the event of dissolution, what would the police force look like in the event that voters would vote for Highland Falls to dissolve here in November? It was stated that I stated that the police force would look like a part-time force, which is what our current town of Highlands police force, full-time force is, made up of part-time police officers. That is not what I have stated. That is not my position. What I have stated is that I would want to look and see if part-time makes sense. I would want to talk with our chiefs and would want to talk with representatives of the Highland Falls Police Department to see what makes the most sense. There may be a need for supervisory activity, and so I just wanted to make sure you all were clear in terms of what my position is as far as that is concerned, because that was not accurately stated at the village board meeting. Also, in regards to dissolution, there seems to be some confusion about and I'm looking at the local government efficiency program documentation about the citizen empowerment tax credit. This is something that for communities that would either consolidate or dissolve, this is a tax credit provided to the community post, we'll say, dissolution, since that's what we're talking about right now in terms of Highland Falls possibly. This tax credit is a maximum of $1 million per year, or 15% of the tax associated with what was in our particular case, Highland Falls and the community outside of Highland Falls. That would be presented to us each year in perpetuity. Certainly, it is a requirement to be budgeted by the state. And of course, that's subject to state budget types of things. But the this program has been in effect since 2011. I was talking to Senator Skoufis's office as our representative, one of our representatives in Albany. This tax credit has been funded every single year since 2011. Last year, because of COVID, it was reduced by 80%. The 20% that was not available last year, 15% of that is being given to communities, and the communities are waiting for the remaining 5%. Certainly, it is subject to state budget types of things, but according to Senator Skoufis and his office, there is no talk, and there seems to be no indication that the state is going to want to back away from this. And they are all about, and still remain, even with our new governor, all about local government efficiencies. So I just want to make sure everyone understood that, and this would be a credit to property tax for all property tax payers across the entire town. And just as a little reminder, and I don't know if the camera wants to look at it, but I'm looking at the Town of Highlands banner on the wall. Town of Highlands defined as Bear Mountain, Fort Montgomery, Highland Falls, and West Point. And so this tax credit would go to the taxpayers on an annual basis in perpetuity. And for the town, I think LaBerge is going to be talking about this. For the town, a number that I've seen is a little over $900,000 annually. By law, 70% of that has to go back to taxpayers. And that would be all taxpayers, okay, who pay property tax. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. That seems to be a little bit of confusion. And one last thing, and I have made this comment today in our budget meetings. I would encourage you all to attend those budget meetings. But I've made my position known, and I want you all to know this, that I am firmly in favor of no tax increase this year to our residents. That's going to mean some things, because our budget is going to be very, very tight. Just want you to all know where I'm coming from on this. We need to look at enhancements in revenues to cover some critical expenditures that we're going to need to make. But my position is, just so, again, so it's very clear, my position is no tax increase for any of you going into this next year. We're going to be working hard, talk to the board about that, we're going to be working hard to try to make that happen. Okay? And I think that's all for me.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Chief, you have anything?
Just a couple, Thank you. So I just would always like to update the public as well as the board on our police reform plan. So October starts our fall range, which we're going to increase from 4 hours to 6 hours. And we're going to do some more tactical and awareness training, more where our officers will engage more. So it's going to take a little more time. And then we're going to follow up with some additional role-playing. We wrote that in our plan that we'd do some additional training. So we just purchased some inert items, and we appreciate the board's support for that. Basically like blue guns, and Pat Haley will take control of that. And we're going to incorporate our taser training, as well as our pepper spray training, and then role-playing. And we'd like to invite, at that time, the members of the Police Reform Committee, as well as the town board, to watch and some of the progression of the training that we outlined that we were going to do, to show that we are doing it. So that will be after the range, because at that time, there'll be no live fire, so we're going to pick a location to do it, and I'll let everybody know as we get closer what we're going to be doing. So thank you.
Okay. Anybody have anything for the chief?
Some of us like live fire, that's all.
Okay, Kelly, you have anything?
I have the things on the agenda.
Okay, then would you come up to the microphone and tell us about the replacing the telephone system?
So June Patterson and I had a couple of meetings with different phone vendors, and we had two proposals. The first one was from I think the company that exists with us now. Our phones are no longer covered under a service contract, and they're quite old, so we're expecting some, troubles to begin with them. So they gave us a proposal. I sent it off to New Windsor IT to review the proposal, and they said they had another vendor that they would like us to get a proposal from. So this second vendor, they're called VoIP, VoIP, Voice over IP. They gave us a proposal to change over our telephones at Town Hall, the ambulance hall, the police department, and the highway department. They would replace all the equipment, the telephones. It's an internet-based telephone system, so we would no longer need to get our telephone service from Spectrum. The price for all of that is $599 a month for all of our locations, including the equipment. And right now, we're currently paying Spectrum for all of those phone lines $1,612. So it amounts to about $1,000 a month less than what we're paying now. The telephones will be covered because they're leased. If somebody breaks it or drops it or whatever, the phone will be replaced. Anytime we needed to move a line or change a name, they do all of that, and it's covered under the agreement. It's a full service agreement with them. And God forbid we have another COVID situation where people are working from home. Because these are internet-based phones, we could literally unplug the phone, bring it home, and plug it in, and it would work as a town phone. So, but the biggest benefit, of course, is that it's $1,000 less a month than what we're currently paying with Spectrum. And with better service.
Okay, you need a motion from the board to, I'll ask for a motion from the board to have our controller and town clerk replace our phone system.
Can I make a comment before we do that? I'd just like to, again, especially coming off of what I just said about budget, I'd just like to point out to everyone that this is an example of what this town board is doing and what our town staff is doing in terms of looking to be as cost-effective and efficient with taxpayer dollars as you can. So I'd like to just say thank you, Kelly, for coming up with this.
You're welcome, thank you.
Outstanding.
I need a
Make
motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
So carried.
Thank you.
All right, Kelly, you go ahead with, get it done.
Okay, thanks.
I forgot to mention to you, I'm wondering if you have this about the safety plan for the dial bus?
Yes, I do. And you sent me an email on Hispanic Heritage Month.
Okay.
That was it? You was
Those
anything?
are the two left, right. So Hispanic Heritage officially ends, I think, on the 5th of October. So trying to squeeze in an event to be consistent with what we started last year. And so I sent the supervisor a request to use the gazebo to honor some of the Hispanic residents in the community as part of Hispanic Heritage Day. So that's what he was talking about. And the second thing was that Tiffany how do you say her name? Galise?
Montalise.
Tiffany Montalise. This Tiffany Montalise has done a thorough job on putting together a safety plan for the DialUp bus, which is on the supervisor's desk, which we as a board will be briefed on shortly. But I just want to, commend her for taking the effort to put that together.
Okay. Actually, I thought I put that on my agenda, but I didn't. Okay, the cannabis, I don't know if you say it that way, the cannabis, the marijuana retail dispensaries law, which we have a choice as to whether or not we want to allow that to be done in our town, outside the village, and or we can opt out of the whole program. I wanted to put it on the agenda because after December the 31st, we have no choice. But now we can opt out, and if we decide that the town next to us is making a lot of money on this, then we can get back into it again. So what I want to do is to set up a public hearing to hear how the people in the town feel. I know how I feel, and I guess it's because I'm an older person, but as I said to someone, what's next, legalizing prostitution? It's just, obviously I'm not for it. So anyway, I have a resolution, discussion. Anybody want to talk about this?
Yeah, I'll talk about it. So we're talking about the fact that New York State has legalized the recreational use of cannabis, or marijuana, as most of us know it. And that local municipalities now are put in a position whether they're going to decide to allow folks to set up legal businesses in their geographical location or not. But obviously, if it's a legal substance, similar to an alcohol that was one time prohibited and now is legal, then there'll be people who are in the business of dispensing that would then make revenue that is taxed. So from that standpoint, if it's legal in the state of New York, if it's regulated like it should be at local levels, I'd like to see that more so than what I have seen in the past with illegal marijuana operations on just about every corner in America. So I support it.
Anyone else comment on that?
What, all you want to do tonight is set the hearing.
Just set a public hearing.
Set a hearing for us, right, and we'll listen to the public.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'd like to hear what the public has to say. about this,
Okay.
too.
I have a resolution to introduce and schedule a public hearing to receive public comments concerning the enactment of a local law opting out of the establishment of cannabis retail dispensaries and on-site consumption licenses within the town of Highlands. This public hearing would be on October the 11th at 7 PM in the town hall. And the town clerk will give notice of such public hearing.
Bob,
Yes?
that's Columbus Day. October 11th is Columbus Day.
Did we decide we're still going to have a meeting on Columbus Day?
I know we have a budget meeting on that
Yeah.
day. I don't know if we're having a regular board meeting or not.
I don't know, what do you think, Justin?
Well, it's certainly legal to do so. It's whether or not you think your public will come out to your public hearing on this issue. So if you wanted to bump the public hearing date by 1 or 2 weeks,
Well,
2
we-
weeks would be the regular meeting of October
Be the
25th.
25th then?
I'm sorry,
That would be the 25th?
25th.
Okay. All right, so
So
we'll
just,
change.
Leslie, I sent you a notice. We'll have to make sure before we send it to the paper.
Okay. So I need a motion to set the public hearing for October the 25th. Let me make sure that's the right date. Yeah. Okay, the 25th,
So move.
Second.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Carter,
Aye.
Councilmember King,
Aye.
Councilmember Harry,
Aye.
Councilmember Alderman,
Aye.
Supervisor Dempsey.
Aye. I sent out the not sanitation, the DialUp safety plan to everyone by email. A lot of work was put into it, as Kelly said. It was approved by New York State DOT, but never approved by the town board. So I'll ask for a motion to approve the safety plan for the Town of Highlands DialUp bus.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With one correction, I think in the, reading through it, Colleen Solon is still mentioned in the safety report. I would just ask that she be taken out because she's no longer involved
Oh,
with
yeah,
it.
okay, so, good. So moved. So we got a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So carried, thank you. And also from the Highway Department, from Tiffany Montalese. Justin, there has to be a better way to do this. We sell garbage cans at cost. And if the cost goes up, I don't want to have to come to the board and ask for a new rate for selling the garbage cans. And I don't want to sell them at below cost. So is there a way we can put that the Highway Department will sell garbage cans at their cost?
Yeah, certainly. It's just that, right? So as it fluctuates, that'll be the fee charged to the citizen. The only change would be is if you were, that'll handle it.
Yeah,
If
they went
it's
up
just a dollar
from-
for dollar exchange.
They went up from $55 to $62.50. And then the 95-gallon trash cans $80.50, and the small,
You say they're up 55 to 62.50.
I'm sorry, what? They went from 50, let's see, the cost,
Small ones are 45 originally, and the big ones were 62.50. I know the big ones went up to 80.50.
yeah, the 95-gallon cans are now $80.50. The small 35-gallon cans are $53. And I'm not sure what that means, that she's saying they went up from $55 to $62.50. Anyway, I'll ask for a motion to have the highway department charge for the garbage cans, whatever their cost is.
Sure, and
Better
they
way
should
to put
just submit that charge yearly or anytime there's a change to the town clerk's office.
Okay. All right,
Motion.
motion, second, all in favor?
Aye.
Chief, do you want to explain this MOU with the police officers?
It's the officer trainee MOU
Training.
and the cost thereof.
The contract we want them to sign?
So currently, we have 3 police officers in Phase 2. So Phase 1 is open to anybody who wants to attend through the community college, but they don't get certain training, one of which is firearms. So the agreement prior with the PBA is that we would hire Phase 2 candidates. Unfortunately, they would be paying the cost of everything themselves. We had numerous applicants. We were able to pick 3 that we think were outstanding, and they're currently in the Phase 2 Police Academy. As a matter of fact, I saw 1 yesterday and 2 today. And the agreement is that any costs during the Police Academy of equipment or training, including their up to 160 hours of training, which is mandated by the Department of Criminal Justice Services, is free. Once they've acquired their 160 hours, the roster is submitted back to the Police Academy, goes to the Department of Criminal Justice Services, and they're certified. At that time, we start paying them. So we're happy to note that we have 3 individuals there. 2 of them have previous military service, which we interviewed. So that's the agreement, which was signed by the PBA and, of course, by us as well.
Okay, I'll ask the board for permission to allow me to sign this agreement, which has already been signed by the chief and the PBA president.
Motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Thank you very much. Do you get this, chief, or?
Yes, sir, I'll take it.
Okay. I have a resolution to approve the long-term New York State financing with the EFC Facilities Corporation for the sewer plant upgrades in the town of Highlands sewer improvement area.
That says it all. You're converting your financing in December to long-term financing. They require an agreement in advance of that, in the opinion of my office and bond counsel, to move forward with that bonding. So this simply authorizes the supervisor to sign the project finance agreement for long-term financing.
I ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
All right.
Councilmember Carey?
Aye.
Councilmember Nolan?
Aye.
Supervisor Lucy?
Aye. Justin, was there one more thing you needed?
Yes, the highway, Pat Patterson requested to expend funds from the Highway Repair Equipment Reserve Fund for, I hope I'm saying this right, a case skid steer. It's something that I believe the board's been aware of and that they've been planning to acquire. They have a lease for it. This would be an expenditure of $25,984.37 to make the lease payment on the case skid steer. It is subject to permissive referendum requirements. But you have the resolution.
I'll ask for a motion to move the resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Does that need a roll call? Just
Yes, please.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Sullivan?
Aye.
Councilmember King?
Aye.
Councilmember Perry?
Aye.
Councilmember Mogul?
Aye.
Supervisor Leeson?
Aye. Rich, John O'Rourke sent me an email. I think he probably copied you too. If he didn't, he should have. You want him to go ahead with the DEC permit for cementing on this stream here?
I haven't been too involved. I saw the fee for it, that's
Okay.
gonna come out of the town hall repair fund, or,
Yeah.
okay. It needs to be done, I'd say go for it.
Okay.
Fine. Again, with the town hall repair reserve, you need a public hearing to spend the money.
Yeah, okay. So I'll have him go ahead and do that, and we'll get started on it for another rainstorm.
I don't know if everybody saw the email that I sent out, so this water tank discussion, and I didn't mean to be terse before. We do have a tank, it's 54,000. It's not the one that was meant to be built in the agreement, but by the acquisition of Corbin Hill, we have a tank. It functions just the way the other tank's gonna function, it's there, 54,000 gallons. So that begs the question of when we go to build the new one, if everybody looked at the email, there's a couple of options. That tank is here, the Corbin Hill building is here. There are some people that are high enough in elevation that village water would barely flow up to their second floor, there'd be no pressure. So it's pressurized. And in doing so, when it goes down the hill, that pressurized line is high enough that if you were to tie into the village gravity system with that, water would be coming out of the top of the tanks in Highland Falls, if I'm explaining that correctly. So the tank we're going to install had two options. One was to have a reduced pressure valve at the right pressure to feed the tank there and go through an easement that currently exists. And the other one was to complete coming up all the way up Canterbury Road, coming up and tying in. It's about 17 or 1,800 feet. This is going to annoy some people when they listen to it. Although that loops the line, there is not enough water for the people on Canterbury Road, in my opinion, to ever have water from the village of Highland Falls, which is our only plausible source. So if we tie in putting a line there, it's not in the water district. The temptation to people looking out their front door is going to be, I want to tie into that line. So I personally am in favor of the cheaper option of putting a reduced pressure valve box in up there and feeding the tank we haven't built with yet in that manner. Probably annoyed a lot of people, but that's how towns work. There's just not enough water to go outside the water districts as they are right now.
Good explanation. Public comment? Anybody on anything?
There
Yes.
was an email, I don't know if you saw it from Tiffany this afternoon, that Pat wanted authorization to spend some CHIPS money,
That was a 25,000?
25,000, yeah.
Okay. Patterson's requesting to spend $25,000 of the CHIP money. This is for asphalt and reconstruction of Mine Dock Road and to finish the Krieger Road project. Do I have a motion to allow Pat to access the CHIPS money for maximum of $25,000.
Motion?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Anything else I missed, Kelly?
That's it.
Okay. Public comment by anybody for anything?
I would like people to write letters to the paper or to Dr. Chaboy. It's extremely important that we keep students at O'Neill for the senior year. At the market, we were talking to some of the parents. They're in favor of that. They had no problem about their kids graduating and going to O'Neill. So please write letters to the paper and to Dr. Chaboy. For regulation of marijuana, we had something called, you had to be 21 to drink. but I don't know if everybody waited. And the other issue is that that's going to affect, my son lived in Colorado, and the research I did on Colorado, they didn't make the money they thought they were going to make, but they had to spend it. The other issue is the rehab. How much money is New York going to be putting into rehab? And your chief will tell you, we belong to the Orange County Alcohol and Drug Commission. That's the question. How much money is going into rehab? The other one is what is the point? We don't understand that yet. Yes, I'm against it. I'll make it very clear. I'm a trustee of the village. I'm very much against it. The police now have to search a car completely different. For municipal workers, if there's an accident and they have to go get tested, the ramifications are completely different. So I'm asking both the town and the village to really take a hard look on okaying marijuana, making it legal and sold in our village or our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me just say one thing, since I'm the only one that so far stood up and said I support it. I want to go back to, I don't have any misconceptions about how much money we'll make or not make, but I do know this, that it's probably likely somebody out there selling marijuana right now, as we speak. So my point is, if you have come to New York, and the state of New York has made this substance legal, but yet the local communities make it illegal to sell at a retail, what have you really done? The only thing you've done is make an underground market, and you've made revenue leave your community and go somewhere else. That's my opinion.
Well, that can be true too with gambling. You know, that happens too. We thought that we were gonna make a lot of money, especially on lottery, the schools were gonna just flourish. That didn't happen either. We had OTB, we still have OTB. So, you know, again, I think we're gonna be doing research exactly on the effects.
Yeah, well, again, I just give you my one opinion.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's why we got the public hearing coming up, and that'll be a good topic for the public hearing.
I sent out an email to the board saying I was not prepared to vote on it just yet without reviewing it more, so, you know, so listen.
Anybody else? Anybody else? Public comment? Anything? No? All right, now, board, do we want to do budget?
Yes, why don't we finish that up
Yeah.
tonight?
Okay.
We just did that.
So, we're gonna still remain in session, we were doing the budget before you all come up here, so, if I could ask you all, bid you all good night, and we're gonna move back down and on the floor and do the budget.